Hello, welcome, and thanks for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gamansing. The Juan Luis Hospital Board reinstated Dr. Kendall Griffith as interim chief executive officer during a brief special board meeting on Monday afternoon. Board chairwoman Key Walker said she would step down from the chairmanship after the meeting, but still remains on the board. News 2's Shanika Robinson has more.
If it takes rallying behind one person to get members of the legislature to act to identify funds to save this hospital, then I won't stand in its way. I am therefore stepping down as chair of the board at the end of this meeting.
At Monday's emergency meeting at the Juan Luis Hospital, Key Walker announced she was stepping down as chairwoman of the board. When the senators arrived at the Juan Luis Hospital, the board meeting was already over, but Senator Hansen indicated that the Senate session will still move forward.
It sounds to me like a way to prevent the Senate from going into session on Wednesday. But that move is not sufficient. Change of chairmanship is not going to stop us from going into session to straighten that up.
Senators met with Governor John DeYoung at the Government House in St. Croix on Monday afternoon in order to have further discussions on this matter.
Approximately 12 senators met yesterday with the governor at Government House on St. Croix. Each of us was able to give our suggestions as to how we'd like to handle the situation with the Juan Luis Hospital. The law provides for 9 members on the hospital board, and currently there are only 5 sitting there. So my suggestion was to let's enforce the term limit and replace all the expired members on the board. Remove all of them immediately and give the governor 90 days to replace members.
As a result, the 30th Legislature will hold a special session on July 17th in order to address issues related to the hospital. Senate President Sean Michael Malone said on Tuesday that he had hoped that the matters could have been handled internally at JFL, but that he would move forward with the session per the request of 10 of his colleagues that petitioned for the session to be held this week.
Now we have more senators that have the courage, if they're doing the wrong thing, get rid of the board.
Shaniqua Robinson, News 2.
News 2 will keep you updated on the emergency Senate session that will be held tomorrow at the VI Legislature on St. Thomas. Senate President Sean Michael Malone is eyeing the House of Representatives. Malone announced today that he has authorized the establishment of a committee that will study the possibility of his running for Virgin Islands delegate to the United States House of Representatives. Malone said that while he remains focused on his duties as Senate President, he believes he will also be effective on the federal level. And if he does decide to go forward with this plan, he intends to enter the Democratic primary next summer. Malone said he made the decision to announce his interest in the post after current delegate Donna Christensen declared that she intends to seek the governorship in the 2014 primary during a recent U.S. Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee hearing. Well, last week, the Water and Power Authority was excitedly looking ahead at possibilities for renewable energy sources for the territory. But on that week, it was also beset by complaints filed by the Environmental Protection Agency. The lawsuit filed by the EPA in March just got a little bigger, and it could mean a heavier burden for taxpayers. April Knight has more.
While WAPA looks forward to a future with more renewable energy, its present is still being haunted by fossil fuel problems. Earlier in the year, the Environmental Protection Agency filed lawsuits against WAPA for violating the Clean Air Act. According to the EPA, WAPA's St. Croix facility exceeded emission limits for nitrous oxide and particulate matter. EPA also says that WAPA did not properly collect and provide data on emissions.
You see signs that WAPA is doing better on its self-management, but clearly from what the recent news is, they're not doing enough because they're letting huge things fall through the cracks, such as their environmental reporting requirements.
The complaints in the original lawsuit could cost WAPA up to $110 million, but an amendment filed by the U.S. Attorney's Office last week could make it worse, by almost $14 million more.
Any kind of money that WAPA has to pay in terms of fines come right out of the taxpayer's pocket or the ratepayer's pocket, because after all, we are the owners of WAPA.
WAPA officials declined on commenting on an issue that is a subject of pending litigation, other than to say that they are optimistic about a resolution. But it seems that WAPA has always been a little tight-lipped on the matter.
And WAPA sidestepped the issue for the most part, saying we're taking care of it, it's not a big issue. but I think that recent revelations show that it is a big issue. They have to stop talking their way out of fines and comply with regulations.
But if WAPA fails to address the EPA complaints,
yes, I think that if WAPA is unable to respond to this, we're at $110 million of fines right now. If WAPA cannot respond to this properly, that would push us as a Senate harder to either privatize WAPA or sell off a part of it.
April Knight, News 2.
According to Energy Committee Chair Senator Craig Barshinger, he will be calling for a special hearing in September to have a detailed discussion of the EPA allegations against WAPA. Senate President Sean Michael Malone says he has placed the complete text of the proposed Hovenza agreement online for public review and established a special email account for comments before senators vote on the proposed agreement on August 7, 2013. Emails may be sent to hovenzaagreement@legvi.org. Now, residents must include their full names, addresses, and contact information. The public is also invited to testify at or attend public hearings on the agreement, and those dates it's set to begin at 1 p.m. July 22nd on St. Croix and 5 p.m. July 23rd on St. Thomas. Now, testifiers may sign up in advance by calling this number 693-3723. That's on St. Thomas, or on St. Croix, the number is 712-2270. Motorists may see a little spike at the pumps. Hovenza raised the price of wholesale fuel at their truck rack this week. The cost for regular gas rose by 20 cents per gallon, so station owners will pay $3.28. The cost for premium rose by 15 cents per gallon, which means owners will pay $3.64 per gallon. The wholesale price for diesel fuel jumped by 9 cents per gallon. That's a cost of $3.47 per gallon for station owners. Well, cooler heads have prevailed in the heated Senate showdown over presidential nominees. Danielle Nottingham has the latest details from Capitol Hill.
Senate Republicans and Democrats are celebrating a tentative deal that clears the way for several of President Obama's nominees to join his administration.
We have a new start for this body, and I feel very comfortable with it. I don't know how I could be happier.
The yeas are 71, the nays are 29.
Senators reached a compromise just as Majority Leader Harry Reid was about to push the button on his so-called nuclear option. Reid was ready to change the rules so the president's nominees could win confirmation with a simple 51-vote majority, instead of the 60 votes needed to sidestep the threat of Republican filibusters. Monday night's closed-door meeting with nearly all the senators brought them back from the brink.
I think all of us got to the edge and looked in the abyss, and we stepped back from it.
The big trade-off in this deal, the administration will withdraw 2 names Republicans oppose, so as many as 5 others can be guaranteed confirmation. Richard Cordray was nominated exactly 2 years ago to head the Bureau of Consumer Financial Protection and is now on his way to Senate confirmation. Edward Markey, just sworn in as Senator Tuesday, is happy with the compromise.
Today, a logjam was broken.
Wyoming Republican John Barrasso agrees something had to give.
There was overwhelming bipartisan support to finding a solution.
Republicans say the president's nominees will be confirmed by August 1st. Danielle Nottingham, News 2.
Meanwhile, keeping our eye on the economy, a new report shows Americans are paying a little more for almost everything these days. Consumer prices jumped 0.5% in June. The biggest increases were gas and food. AT&T users can now upgrade to a new cell phone more often for a fee. The new plan gives customers a new phone every year if they pay an additional monthly charge instead of paying for the device up front. It's between $15 and $50 depending on the phone. This is the New York Stock Exchange with Scotiabank Stock Market Watch. The Dow, Nasdaq, S&P all down. The Dow 32, Nasdaq 8, S&P 6. Coming up on News 2, the latest on the Zimmerman murder trial and more reaction from residents. Plus, as we mentioned in Monday's newscast, we reported that some St. Croix residents are calling for answers to questions about why a beach on St. Croix has been blocked to deny public access. Hear that story and more when we return. Well, Well, some St. Croix residents are calling for answers to questions about why a local beach was damaged to deny the public access. During the weekend, unknown persons trashed the estate Carlton Beach, pulling down parts of an old ruin and then dropped an abandoned car and large pieces of brush in front of the entrance. NEWS2's Erica Parsons has that story.
I don't see why, if we keeping the place clean, why they want to block us from coming into the beach, which is a public beach where it's for locals and everybody else to use.
For the last few months, Estate Carlton Beach has been a peaceful refuge for Juanita Cruz Ayala and her family.
When we want to be with the family, we come here, we clean the beach, and we keep it nice and clean.
They invested months of labor to clean it up.
When we first moved here, this was a mess, and it was all cans and bottles and all glass everywhere, and my son has autism and he wanted to come here and play and pirates and stuff, and we wouldn't let him. Then when they came down, Miss Cruz with her family, and they took weeks to clean this all up and everything. They did a beautiful job, cleaned everything up. There wasn't a piece of glass around here. I don't know how they did it. They cleaned this place like it was a brand new beach.
But someone decided they didn't want visitors to the Estate Carlton Beach. Over the weekend, a ruin was damaged and trash was left to block access to the beach.
We just finished our camping just a week ago, and we left everything clean. And here it is. I'm ready to come yesterday to the beach, and we can't even get access to the beach.
We don't have no clue who did this. I left Saturday to go a little snorkel tour that we had. We left at 10 in the morning, came back at 5:30. Well, I noticed when we got back there was a bunch of tractor tires and stuff coming down the road, and on Friday it wasn't there because I cleaned the roads Friday.
They put an old car in the middle of the road, and they also knocked down the columns of the building, and then they left all the debris on the road so we can't get in.
Cruz and some Carlton residents are furious. Officers from Environmental Protection who were contacted said the damage is illegal.
They came and said that this is a violation, that whoever did it, they needed permits to tear this down, for one, and for two, they can't be blocking a road.
The Carlton beachgoers don't plan to give up without a fight.
I take my time with my husband, my family, and my friends to come and keep this beach clean. Whosoever you are, you need to come and pick up your debris because we're actually taking action on this.
Erica Parsons, NEWS2.
Now, NEWS2 did contact the Department of Planning and Natural Resources, and an official confirmed that the proper permits weren't in place for demolition. Waste Management said on site that it was also an illegal dumping site. Delegates turn our attention back on the Zimmerman trial. Delegates gathered for the annual NAACP convention in Orlando. They have a renewed agenda in the wake of George Zimmerman's acquittal in the shooting death of Trayvon Martin. And this afternoon, delegates heard from the nation's top justice official. Marley Hall has more from Orlando.
Attorney General Eric Holder addressed NAACP members in Orlando, vowing to investigate the shooting death of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin. Holder also weighed in for the first time on Florida's controversial Stand Your Ground law.
We must stand our ground to ensure that our laws reduce violence and take a hard look at laws that contribute to more violence than they prevent.
Delegates at the NAACP convention say the energy is palpable. They're upset over the acquittal of Sanford neighborhood watchman George Zimmerman.
What that jury has done is woken up a sleeping tiger, and so we will not go back in. We will not go back to sleep.
Reverend Al Sharpton announced rallies in 100 cities this weekend, pressing the Justice Department to bring criminal civil rights charges against Zimmerman.
There's nothing more serious than our not being able to protect our children from unwanted, undeserved harm.
An online petition from the NAACP and MoveOn.org has collected nearly 500,000 signatures supporting DOJ charges, but it will likely take months for the Department of Justice to decide whether to move forward.
Demonstrators gathered outside a Houston courthouse Tuesday, holding signs and wearing hoodies. And students converged on Governor Rick Scott's office, calling for a special legislative session on issues like Stand Your Ground. Zimmerman claims he shot Martin in self-defense. He's been in hiding since his acquittal. Marley Hall for CBS News, Orlando, Florida.
The Justice Department would have to find evidence of racial bias in order to bring the charges. The lone juror who spoke out says she did not believe race played a role in the shooting. Meanwhile, on Monday's newscast, several Virgin Island residents gave their feedback on the verdict of George Zimmerman. Tonight, We hear more of what they had to say.
I'm concerned about the precedent that has been set for the nation after the verdict.
It's sad on how it turned out, but I'm hoping that instead of us taking the negative approach to it, we can find the positive.
As a parent, my heart bleeds for Trayvon's mother especially.
You have Mrs. Zimmerman getting off. I'm concerned of what this might cause in America because it's blatant.
What I take from the verdict is that it's perfectly legal for somebody to stalk another individual.
Is it that the prosecutor didn't communicate this, or is it that the jury of 6 women, that the prosecutor permit them to select 6 Caucasian people? Maybe they decided that Trayvon was wrong, even if he was right.
People had to protest even to get it to come to trial, so I'm very concerned.
You cannot be mad at the system that was not made for our people. And when I say our people, I do not just mean people of African descent.
Be sure to stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.